All right, Kevin Rudd and Julia Gillard. It's 18.5 to 7. Their rivalry was the backdrop to Australian politics in recent years. And even though neither of them are in Parliament, thank the Lord, they just won't stop fighting. Australia correspondent Jason Morrison joins me from Sydney. Jason, great to have you with us this morning. So G'day. We're talking about The Killing Season, which is a 3-part documentary series.
It's a government that went for 6 years, but it gets a 3-part series. You can imagine what these two are going to throw at each other. They hate each other, and they don't mind telling the public that they hate each other. But the trouble is that the side that went out of power as a result of these two hating each other is trying to get back into power now. So you can see how this is going to be really helpful. Opposition will be, split all down in different lines because these two just want to fight it out on TV.
Yeah. It was funny, though, because when they were in power, when Gillard was Prime Minister, they still hated each other and they still fought despite the fact that they wanted to retain power.
You know that grin, that politician, they all kind of,
You've actually got it going on quite well, yeah.
It's right. They were doing the grin at each other all the time. Even to the minutes before she went into the office and told him it was over, they were grinning at each other. And then, of course, they grinned for the cameras and they grinned for the electorate. They grinned, but it didn't fool anyone. And, of course, Australians voted the way that they did. Gillard says Rudd intimidated her. I'm not surprised to hear that. I had some dealings with Rudd and he's
a loathsome character. He's an absolute loathsome character.
Yep.
He is quite possibly, people like us, we interview politicians a lot. He is quite possibly the most loathsome politician I've ever spoken to.
And very vain. If there's a camera nearby, he was doing his hair in it. There was a window. He never stopped. He's just look. How he got elected is beyond me. But what can you say?
Well, it's a sad indictment on Australia that so many people gravitated towards him in the first place.
Somewhat.
He made Gillard look good, and that's how bad he was.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about transparency and accountability when it comes to immigration detention facilities. It appears it's taken a bit of a knock.
Yeah, this is an interesting law. The government's kind of got frustrated with people who are activists working as doctors and teachers in immigration. And I guess you'd have to be to take on a job like that. It's a hell of a job. So an activist who's a professional comes out of the place and then goes to the media and says, we're not happy with this, and this, and we want something done. Now, they've got credibility because they're a teacher or a doctor. And as a result of it, the media goes wild with the story. So the government puts in place new legislation to say, if you are employed in these jobs, you can't come out and drop a bucket load on it. If you want to do that, there's appropriate places to do it. Go do it with the authorities. And, of course, this has been seen as being like a crackdown on freedom of speech and whatever else. And it probably is. I don't like secrecy. It's never good.
It seems fairly reasonable, though, doesn't it? It seems fairly reasonable. Don't blow the whistle on your employer.
If you're employed, if you're taking the money, walk away if you don't like the job.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. All right. Now, from the something we already knew, but we're going to tell you again anyway category, the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners has said homeopathic remedies are a complete waste of time.
Well, we all know that chewing on a eucalyptus leaf can save cancer, so,
So they're clearly wrong.
Why would you not? If you walk into a pharmacy, I'm sure it's the same, in Auckland, in Christchurch, you walk into a pharmacy, all you see now are alternative medicines because there's great margin in it. And there is great attraction to it, and the marketing of these companies is all over the place. You try to find regular drugs; it's almost very difficult to get them. And the doctors are all saying, "Look, this is getting to ridiculous now because we're almost telling people all the time, go buy this, but they can't find it in pharmacies." So they've come out with this advice: take the stuff off the shelves. There's no evidence that it does anything, and until there's evidence it does, you should be selling things that we do have evidence to sell. You can imagine how this has gone down. This is right in conspiracy corner, and straight away we've got the big medicine cracking down on natural medicine, and you can kind of imagine
the headlines.
Nothing will change. Nothing will change.
But people year on year spend more and more money. And what they're saying is you are wasting your money, you're wasting your time. All right, Bondy, Alan Bond is in a critical condition. Now, he, of course, was the money behind Australia 2, the winning of the America's Cup in 1993.
Yeah, it's interesting this. I mean, I hope he gets through this all right. Alan Bond's an unusual character in Australia. He was an absolute hero who turned devil, who went to jail, who came out of jail, did his time when everyone else who had money used to flee and avoid prosecution and jailing. And of course, he's been living a largely private life and trying to rebuild himself, never had much success in doing so. Now he's where he is, and I have a feeling there'll be, when he dies, there'll be this unusual kind of very large amount of sympathy outpouring towards the man. It's not looking good, very touch and go, they were saying last night. But look, this man's a fighter. Everything that has come his way, he's fought, and who knows what'll happen, eh?
Yeah,
it's a sad demise, the whole thing.
It is sad. He's a nuggety individual, and as you say, I mean, you know, he hasn't exactly been salt of the earth all the time, but he's always stood his ground and stood up for himself. Jason, thanks so much for joining us. Jason Morrison, of course, it was Australia too in 1983. He lost the challenge in 1987.